On this episode of the Neutral Wisdom podcast, host Robert Shirley discusses indulgence and compulsion and is joined by a special panel of guests for discussion. This is the Neutral Wisdom podcast, a view of life through a satanic lens, with your host, Robert Shirley.
Greetings and welcome to the Neutral Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Shirley, and today we're going to be discussing addiction and recovery. I'll be joined later by a panel of guests who are willing to discuss their own addictions and journeys to recovery. I think there'll be a lot we can take away from this one. I think all of us, Satanists especially, indulge in the things which bring us pleasure. And why wouldn't we? That's what life is for. Making the most of it here and now. One of the first things we learn and come to realize as Satanists is that all of the bad things we were taught were sinful in the eyes of some made-up sky daddy are actually some of the best and most enjoyable things we can do. And that is very freeing. We obtain the ability to enjoy ourselves, pretty much guilt-free. As long as we're not hurting anybody else, we're free to fill our boots, as they say in the military. For some, it's chemical vices, such as drugs and alcohol. Some are able to embrace their sexuality without guilt. Some of us even start podcasts and write books, although the jury is still out on that one. But what happens when our indulgences take control of us? When we feel an urge or a compulsion to indulge or to overindulge, we no longer enjoy the pleasure, we need it. We become addicted to it. Whatever brought us pleasure in the beginning becomes a physical or psychological need for us to keep going and face the world every day. And if we realize that our pleasures are not harmful and we need to stop, withdrawal is painful. Not only the process of withdrawal, but that niggling urge to fall off the wagon will almost always be there, no matter what our commitment to change is. Ask any reformed addict what the biggest challenge in their life is, and they'll say it's resisting the temptation to start again. Satanists understand that we are the ones in control of our own existence. We've rejected the notion that there's some supernatural force which guides us and looks out for us. We must look after ourselves. We are responsible for ourselves. This does not only apply to religion. If we allow our indulgences to take us over, we're allowing them to control us. We're giving up our control, not to some mythical being, but to some chemical or psychological need. I suppose one could argue that this really isn't the same thing, but have you ever spoken to a very ardent Christian? Those people are addicted to the promise of a glorious afterlife, which is kind of stupid to me since they're addicted to something they might get or might not, depending on their behavior. Whatever. But as we'll see later from the guests on our panel, there's a way back from addiction. There's a way out of compulsion. It is by no means an easy journey. And the scary thing is, the journey in is always so much easier than the journey out. We'll get to our panel after the break. In the meantime, the title for today's essay comes from an old Irish proverb that speaks about the subtlety of addiction, the effect small choices can have on us, and how the point of no return is often invisible. I think it sums up indulgence, not compulsion, perfectly. Today's essay is titled, "The Drink Takes the Man. Indulgence, not compulsion." A man takes a drink. The drink takes a drink. The drink takes the man. It's the first drop that destroys you. There's no harm at all in the last. Irish proverb. Satanism has long maintained the principle of indulgence, not compulsion, as our way of approaching life. Anton LaVey wrote about this in the Satanic Bible, and it can also be found on the official Church of Satan website. Indulgence, not compulsion, means that it is perfectly fine to indulge in the things in which one finds pleasure, responsibly. If our need to indulge becomes compulsive, then we've gone too far. Think of it as indulgence, when you control the thing and find pleasure in it. Compulsion, when the thing controls you and you move from want to need. It becomes an addiction. The Irish proverb is a good demonstration of what happens when one allows indulgence to turn into compulsion. You'll slowly lose control over time and not even realize it's happening. As a personal example, I was a late bloomer as far as a social life. I didn't really start hanging out with a steady group of friends until I was 18 years old. The friends I made were through the military cadet program, and since we were all from different areas of the city and different backgrounds, we all had different tastes and hobbies. But the one thing we did have in common was drinking on weekends. We would have what we called TV parties, after the song of the same name by Black Flag. We would sit around drinking, talking, and listening to music, usually ska, with television on in the background. I had never been a big drinker up to that point, but I wasn't a straight edge or against alcohol, so I participated with the group. And we always had a good time at these parties, at least the ones I could remember. Then came the day when I was at home with a different friend who wasn't in our weekend group. I grabbed the bottle of cola from the refrigerator and, without thinking, went to the bar and poured a shot of rum into my glass. Buddy's eyes got very wide. "Dude, what are you doing?" I didn't have an answer. In fact, I haven't even realized what I had just done. It had become so habitual for me to pour a dark and dirty, a dark rum and coke, that I just automatically made one for myself on a Thursday morning. My indulgence was becoming a compulsion, and I didn't even realize it was happening. Alcoholism runs in my family. Whether it's hereditary or not is up to science to determine. However, I have seen and experienced firsthand what alcohol does to the people you love. There was no way I was going to let that happen to me. It was then and there that I decided to back off the booze on weekends. I had a good group of friends, so there was no peer pressure or anything like that. I was lucky in that regard. Sure, if we were going to a club or something, I'd have a few drinks, but nothing like indulging every weekend. For what it's worth, I still drink every now and then, but nowhere near as much as I did when I was younger. As my doctor can tell you, even calling me a casual drinker would really be pushing it. I'll socially enjoy a glass of wine with a meal or a good bourbon with a premium cigar, but there's no more drinking to get wasted in my present or future, especially at my age. In short, you have to be conscious of your indulgences and be aware of when and how they can turn into compulsion. The Church of Satan is quite often asked about illegal drugs with regards to indulgence and compulsion. The Church of Satan has its own policy on illegal drug abuse, which can be found on its website. Illegal drug abuse is also referenced on the site's Q&A page. Question: doesn't the Church of Satan endorse all kinds of hedonism, including drug use? Answer: no. The Church of Satan's philosophy is Epicurean, not hedonistic. For us, a balanced and controlled seeking of pleasures is our goal. Indulgence, not compulsion, as would be the case under hedonism. For a detailed explanation of our policy about drug use, please read the essay, The Church of Satan's Policy on Drug Abuse. First of all, the Church of Satan does not condone illegal activity. That is, if your actions are illegal in your country of residence, the Church of Satan does not support them. Second, the use of drugs could be considered unsatanic. According to the aforementioned policy, since survival is the highest law, the Satanist will not ruin or poison his or her body, even if it is legal to do so. This is an important distinction. Self-destructive, suicidal hedonism, via whatever means, is ultimately unsatanic as it threatens the very thing a Satanist holds most dear, his or her own life. Simply put, if you choose to use drugs, either legal or illegal, remember that indulgence, not compulsion, should be your guideline. Like with anything else, if you lose control of your indulgence, you'll quickly head down the road to addiction, which is the definition of compulsion. As to my own point of view, I create my own reality. I choose to be the best version of myself. I influence the environment and the people around me with my lesser magic and surround myself with things that make me happy. If I don't like something, I change it, either through hard work to get through it or by excising it from my life. I don't need drugs or alcohol to cope with my reality. The reality I make for myself is pretty good, and I don't want to be separated from it. Personally, and this is my opinion only and will probably be a trigger for a lot of people, I see drug use as a sign of weakness. Yes, I understand that a lot of people use them to relax, but a lot of people use them to escape reality. For me, I don't get it. If your reality is so bad, change it, because stoned or not, it'll still be there when you're no longer high. I live in a town where I smell a lot of marijuana smoke. Marijuana is federally legal in my country. Even when I'm out for a run at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, there are people out on their front stoop smoking a joint. Really? At 7 a.m.? How bad is your life that you need to get away from it before everyone else is awake? But again, that is my opinion. I totally respect your right and want to smoke anything, anytime you wish. What I think shouldn't matter to you any more than what you think matters to me. Indulgence, not compulsion. Let this be a guiding principle in your own life and get the most pleasure out of life that you can. And if you find yourself slipping into compulsion, do not hesitate to reach out for help to your medical professional or mental health provider. In the meantime, I'll meet you at the bar for a rusty nail and a premium cigar. Let us indulge together. Now's a good time for a break. After the break, we're joined by a panel of special guests to share their own stories and experiences with addiction and recovery. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the Neutral Wisdom Podcast. For comments, questions or suggestions, email us at information@neutralwisdom.ca. Unapologetic, the third collection of essays by author and podcaster Robert Shirley, is the most revealing installment in his ongoing exploration of modern Satanism, specifically the personal philosophy he calls neutral wisdom. Unapologetic is a raw, forthright exploration of the author's life through the lens of modern Satanism, presented in two parts. Part 1 builds on his previous works, offering essays that dissect his worldview, personal evolution, and the philosophy that empowers him. Part 2 presents the Neutral Wisdom Manifesto, a distilled declaration of the beliefs and principles that guide him. Together, these pieces form a portrait of a man embracing his identity with clarity, sovereignty, and zero apology. Unapologetic is more direct, more personal, and more confrontational in its honesty than any of Robert Shirley's previous works. Hard copies available April 30th, 2026 through Dark Moon Press, and ebooks through Amazon.com. I will live my life as a story I authored, not one I inherited. And for that, I am completely unapologetic.
And we are back with the Neutral Wisdom Podcast. I'm joined today by a very special panel of guests who are willing to talk about their own journeys of addiction and recovery. And it's a real honor to have them all here today. This can't be an easy thing to talk about, so I so appreciate their willingness to come on this show. Say hello to Frankie, Melted Chapsticks Hollywood, a former guest on this show and a glutton for punishment, and a musical collaborator with yours truly. Frankie is a legend in his own mind and a bona fide rock star with his band, the Melted Chapsticks. Mike North, another former guest. Mike is a photographer and host of both the Midnight Signal podcast and the Skogan Outdoor podcast. And Jimmy Kretz, a brand new guest on the Neutral Wisdom podcast, and we're all looking forward to breaking him in. Jimmy is a married girl dad to two daughters, 22 and 14. And as the father of a daughter myself, I can honestly say, oh boy, okay. Yeah. He's a commercial driver during the day and going to school at night to obtain his CASAC, which is a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor, and an associate's degree in addiction studies. Welcome, panel, to this show. I'm really, really pumped to have all you guys here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's so formal. Relax, guys. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Hang in there. It gets worse, as we like to say. So how are you guys doing? Well, what's going on in your areas of the country there?
I'm doing all right. Same old shit. Like we talked about earlier, I wish we'd have gotten winter this year, but it's been pretty bad. It's been, 80s, 90s.
My heart weeps for you. Yeah. How awful.
I can't stand it, man.
Open your freezer and think of us here on the East Coast.
I keep the AC on like at 58, so
nice.
It's comfortable inside the house. But
Jimmy, I think you and I need to plan a trip to Mike's neck of the woods and kick the crap out of him.
Come on out.
80s, 90s, shit. And Boston, what's going on out there?
A lot of good stuff. We just played in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and I was only hit as this parade, 100,000 people. As a sober guy, I get hit with all these nips and just share them with the band.
So that worked out well for you then. Well, it worked out well for them. I mean, I throw shit at you too, but it's good to know that you at least share it.
I asked him to throw avocados because we just want to make a dip the tomato stain, but it was a lot of fun.
And Jimmy, you took time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us today. How's it going there?
I go to work and then I go straight to school 4 nights a week. And then I come and I just hit the gym before I go home. And I average about 4 hours of sleep.
Youth is wasted on the young. Hey, fellas?
Oh, yeah.
I used to stay awake for days with, the help of other things. So,
Yep.
now doing it for a good reason now.
Well, we're going to get into that in a second. I don't think this is an easy thing to talk about, so I appreciate all you guys being willing to come on and talk about this. There's not much we don't know about Mike and Frank because they've been here before. But Jimmy, is there anything else that you can tell us about you that I didn't really cover in my intro?
I'm a believer of recovering out loud because somebody needs to hear it. And yes, there's a lot of stigma around it, as we all know. We're all very familiar with stigma.
Mhm.
Somebody's gonna want to hear it, and even though if you can't relate with somebody 100%, if they can relate to 2, 3, 5%, then that gives them a glimmer of hope that they can try to not suffer.
Definitely. And you mentioned stigma. So how did you come to this thing of ours as well?
Always when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Just like everyone else with the outcast kind of, we're always on the outside, and obviously had the book, and like a lot of kids like back in like the early 90s and stuff, we had it, but like we didn't read it. And then like when I got older, now being 43, 40 in my 30s and my 40s, when I started reading it, like really, I'm like, yo, you know what? I should have read, just like everything else. I should have did this years ago, Should have went to school years ago. Should have read this book years ago. Should have read that years ago. Should have believed this years ago.
A lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas in everybody's past, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, now we kind of know who everybody is, and I would like to get on to your stories. So before we jump into your stories, and I appreciate you saying, Jimmy, that you like to share this, and all three of you have said that to me offline, but are these stories for you guys, are they hard to tell, or like in some cases, are they hard to relive for you?
To tell, I mean, in the beginning, yeah, I didn't want to tell people. Now, like Jimmy says, you don't know who's going through something. I'll tell anybody. Well, let me rephrase that, I guess. There's certain people I don't talk to it about, but if it's just random people, I'll talk to them. It doesn't bother me. I'll happily say, because you don't know if it's going to help them or not.
You got to
Frankie.
read the room. You got to know your audience,
Yeah.
How does
Yep.
something like that come up? Do people like ask you guys to, or do you volunteer it? Are you recovering guys like vegans? Like, I'm going to know that you're recovering whether I ask you or not, kind of thing?
No, I
Out
think it's
here,
worse when you have long hair. They all assume that you're wasted and whatever. And that's okay too, because I'm not. But if people talk about it or whatever, I'm not afraid to share. And again,
right.
you can pick and choose if someone is completely wasted or whatever. I'm not going to waste my time. But if people have general questions or whatever, I have no
Yeah.
problem sharing, because I think when you finally cut ties with the alcohol and you look at where you were, there's a lot of shame. But as time goes by, you're going to meet people that never met you as a drinker, and you grow in your life. You meet new people instead of, that person remembered I fell down a flight of stairs, made a fool of myself. And I think it just takes time for us to get out of the fog, at least for me,
Oh, yeah.
to clear my head, to learn, to go to meetings, take what I need, leave the rest. I had so much support from friends in California, being in Boston. Frankie, if it's midnight there, you're having a hard time, call me. We are the biggest gang in the world, really.
Hmm.
I could call any of you, you could call me. We just keep lifting each other up.
I've always heard that colloquially, there's nothing worse than a reformed sinner or reformed smoker. So I didn't know if you guys just kind of, hi, I'm Frankie. I used to, like, who knows? Like, I don't know how these
Yeah.
things come up. I've been close to it, but never involved to the level that even I am right now speaking to you. Right.
Yeah.
My old man was a drinker, like that kind of stuff. And I don't know how that resolved or how that turned out. So I just wasn't really sure how the subject was broached or how the subject came up.
For me, I mean, Jimmy said it right. You got to read the room. There are people that I've been around that will openly talk about what it is they use, or they'll, it'll get brought up somehow. And then I'll kind of, depending on what they say, I'll say, something in relation to that, and then kind of go from there.
Okay.
So I generally don't just bring it up for the hell of it. Once you do it so many times, it gets old just kind of repeating yourself. So, if somebody has questions, I'll talk to them. You know, if they tell me they're struggling with something, I mean, there's a guy that me and you know that he was on alcohol for a long time and he didn't tell many people. You know, I just let everybody know that I'm here. If you need me, call me. If you don't, great.
So I would actually, if it's okay with you guys, I would like to start with Jimmy, if that's all right with you, if you don't mind
Yeah.
being the first guy thrown under the bus. If you could just start with yours, you can start at whatever point you want and end at whatever point you want, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. So when we got to the age where most kids knew the difference between right and wrong, my perception was altered. So what I thought was normal, I didn't really find out until my adult life it was not normal. You know, not to have like a drug-a-log, but to so when I was 14 and I drank vodka for the first time, I woke up in a hospital and I was getting my stomach pumped, had alcohol poison, was on my way out. Organs were shutting down, you know, the whole nine. I had this mentality of, well, maybe I should just drink beer. Maybe I shouldn't drink liquor. You know, that same like year, that's when the experimenting with all the drugs started. Because when you go to high school, you know, you're going to high school, you know, and everybody's like, oh, well, you know, oh, this town is so this. That. I don't care what town it is. High school is high school. You know what I mean? So, like, we kind of like we're like the outcasts that kind of like gravitated to each other. Most of us actually aren't here anymore. And in my journey sobriety, I had to, you know, people, places, and things, those that were left, we were no good for each other. So 14, you know, alcohol poisoning, blackout drinkers since day one. And then when I was 17, it happened again. Woke up that time with like 55 stitches in my face. I don't know if I got hit by a car, fell off my bike. I'm 43. I still have no idea what happened to this day. The drugs really escalated. I was arrested like 3 times before I was 18. Addiction, everybody thinks substance use, but then we start to get addicted to other things too. We start to get addicted to people. You know what I mean? Because deep down, as much as we want to be like, you know, get away from me, you know, a lot of us, I used the pineapple analogy, you know, because we all had our leather and our spikes on and stuff, but we were really soft inside and we just didn't want anybody to really know how vulnerable we were. So we put on the, you know, the tough guy out, that,
Hmm.
you know. So I wound up living with somebody very young. We were living together very young, and that ended because of my alcoholism. Then when I was about maybe 24, we were all hanging out, we were all partying, and I seen 2 people come out of the back room, and I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Just give me one." And they were like, "What? You?" I was like, "Just cut me out one line, just one." And then it became the weekends, and then the weekends turned into I'm sleeping in the train station. I lost my job. I lost my fucking apartment. I lost everything. You know, I broke my nose at a concert. And I thought the solution to that was now we can cook it up and smoke it.
Mhm.
You know, just very logical, right?
Of course.
So, but on top of that, you know, my alcoholism is insane. And I was in a very strange reality where I smoked crack with heroin addicts that told me I was drinking too much. After a while, I was like, I was on the verge of suicide. I wound up going through a charity for a couple days, and then they got me a bed in a rehab, and I had a nice 40-day head start into the world. I did the geographical cure. I flew from New York to Nevada. I was going to meetings. I was like washing the ashtrays, making the coffee. And then before you knew it, they gave me a key. I was opening up and I was chairing one of them. I thought my higher power walked through the door, you know, like they say in the rooms, but she was not my higher power. That took me out. And then I was right about to get my 8-month chip, and I went out. And then I was good for like 30 days. And then after that 30 days, I said, you know what? I was like, I'm never going to get those 8 months back. And before you knew it, I was 2,800 miles away from where I thought the problem was. Meanwhile, the problem was inside because, you know, we're the masters of hiding stuff and pushing stuff down. And I heard this old timer out west. He used the garbage can analogy. Picture a metal garbage can, all dented and dirty and stuff. You spray it off, you bang the dents out, and the The garbage can gets shiny, but then when you lift it up, we're still filled with the garbage. And he said that to me, and it stuck, because that's exactly what it was. I left Nevada, I went down to Florida, and then I woke up and I have not touched anything with the exception of coffee. Because, we need our Bustelo. We need our, we need our, you know, the second time around, I had, because when I was out west in a short period of time, I wound up getting a car again. I had a job, I had an apartment. And then, just like round one, within no time, I had no electricity. My car had expired tags. And now I'm driving drunk through the desert, and I'm hopped up on crystal meth. And like, I was doing great. And there was still something that was broken inside. And in the rooms when they're like, oh, well, you have to pray about it and blah, blah. Well, guess what? It didn't fucking work.
Yep.
you know, that didn't work for me. And that's actually why now I want to get into the program, because people like us need to know that there's more than one way.
Yep.
The second way, the realization is just that I was like, yo, I can't do this. I can't keep living my life like this. And I'm the only one out of my family that's made this decision.
It sounds like a heavy experience.
Yeah, like I could really keep going, but it would take up the entire thing, and
Oh, we have other happy tales of joy to get to, but
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the, one of the questions that I have coming up about deciding that it was time. But I want to get through the other guys first, and then we'll kind of come back in plenary and talk about that moment for each of you. So one of you two fellas, feel free to start with your own tale, please.
I guess I'll kind of use the same format Jimmy did. I grew up in a really, really LDS family, so there was never any coffee, drinking, drugs, cigarettes, nothing like that was around. I didn't do anything until I think it was my senior year. I smoked weed once and just, I didn't like it, didn't stick, so that was the end of it. After high school, I left my parents' house and ended up just kind of hanging out with friends, just all over the place. Drank a little bit, every once in a while, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And then I ended up meeting this family, and I really can't remember how I met them, but there was like 5 kids, and everybody and the mom did drugs. And I ended up living with them for some reason and started doing meth. I was there for maybe 6 months and then started doing meth. And I did that for a long time. And then one day I kind of figured I didn't want to do this anymore. I remember I called my grandma and she said, you can come live with me, but you need to go to rehab first. I said, okay, I agreed to it. She picked me up and we went to the place, and they told me there's no way in hell you'll ever do this on your own. And I just kind of looked at her like, what are you talking about? Addicts cannot quit cold turkey. They can't quit without help. You can't do it. And I basically told her to fuck off, and I walked out. And I was away from everything for 7 months and started a new job. There was a guy there that did meth as well. And so that kind of got me roped back into it. So at this point, it's just meth and drinking. I quit the meth. I quit all the drugs except for drinking. And I was drinking a liter of whiskey, if not more, every day. I did that until I had hip surgery. And of course, after having 4 surgeries, they put you on a shit ton of oxy. And from there, it spiraled out of control. And I'm sure you guys know, as an addict, you think, okay, well, it's prescribed. There's nothing wrong with it. I can do this. I'm not an addict. That was just me lying to myself. It got to the point where I started buying it from a good friend. He eventually had to cut me off because there were days that I was spending $1,000 a day. Once he cut me off, I went to heroin. I spent the same amount of money on it. It didn't matter, as much as I could get, and I was just high all day long. But I still, for the most part, held a job, still took care of my family. I just was blitzed the whole entire fucking time. And the only way that I could really quit was I kind of ratted myself out to my parents and said, this is what's going on. I had to do it while I was high as shit, because otherwise I wasn't going to say anything. From there, I ended up going to a methadone clinic, and that's kind of what got me sober. And that's been March 10th was 9 years.
Awesome.
So
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's kind of just the gist of it.
Wow. Okay. And thank you both so far for sharing. So Frank, what about yourself?
I think it all started with being born in the correct religion of Catholicism. They're pretty easygoing. No, really, it's just situations where started out the same and just listening. And thank you for Jimmy and Mike and Sharon, because this is not unique. It happens to people and they shouldn't be ashamed of it. I remember being 11 and 12, my parents divorced. I went to go live with my uncle in the Bay Area. So I'm drinking Southern Comfort, smoking weed. It just perpetually gets worse and worse. It's like driving a car. You start once, all right, it's 30 miles an hour. Once you stop and get back in the car, it's still 30 miles an hour and it's going to go up into 70. It never gets any slower and it continues to be a menace. So, with that, you live your life, you think you can handle it. I was banned from 4 clubs, blacking out, fought a bus driver. She won the fight. I got her weave. I'm wearing it now. And then almost threw up on Tom Brady's wife at a party. So the point is, it's terrible if it takes over your life. For me, what I'm grateful for is I too had people coming up to me and saying, "Wow, Frankie, what are you doing with 5 espresso martinis in front of you?" And I said, "Well, I call it the Gulf oil spill. And believe me, I'm drinking all of these." So I'm appreciative of people out there that have came up and said something. I can't make anybody else not do it. It's up to us to hit our rock bottom. And so when I finally hit my rock bottom, I went to this place called Right Turn. It's for artists in recovery. And I was just shocked how comedians, rock and rollers, and painters had problems with drugs and alcohol. I'm like, what's up with you guys? This is so weird. It was just nice to go to meetings. And my higher power was Satan, which is because it's a tough thing for a lot of people. People were like, you have to have a higher power, but they have that anti-God thing, and I don't blame them at all. Like, if a tree is going to get you sober, I'll plant some more trees to help you. But I use Satan, which is a combination of Satan and Tom Brady, the football player. So it's either like evil and evil in some people's eyes, or good and evil, because I live in New England. But you got to have a sense of humor about it. But going back to your experience, guys, is the fact that people want to maybe judge the fact like, oh, you did meth, you're horrible. Oh, you did this, you're horrible. I used to pass checks to keep the party going. Well, it wasn't in my account yet, but I would write it to get the money to go use my drug of choice. It's really tough. But the good thing is, if you do get into a program, I think really coming from the satanic perspective, it's your self-worth, it's your survival. It's the greatest thing. This stuff is not healthy for us. And so these addictions as well, they may be from alcohol to go to Christianity 8 days a week. That's not good either. So it's good just to, take care of yourself, take what you need and leave the rest. I'm just really grateful for the beautiful people that have been around me that just help me. And I just know every day I get up, if I don't drink today, it's going to be a good day.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask a really ignorant question because I seem to ask those kinds of things on this show, but all of your experiences are very similar. Now, I think the big question that I have, not having ever had this issue, as I've said, I've known people who have, but never had it myself. Why? What were you chasing? Were you trying to dull some pain? Were you trying to forget reality? Were you trying to make your life better? Like, why? Every kid is going to try it, right? And you've all said, well, we all started when we were kids. So every kid's going to try it. But what made you, and especially you, Jimmy, after almost dying from it, what made the 3 of you guys continue to chase whatever it was you were chasing? So what were you chasing and why were you chasing it?
For me, initially, it was just fun. I liked the feeling of being high. And then after the surgeries, it was more the pain, being in constant pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It fucking blew. I hated it. And then it got to the point where I just didn't care about reality. I just wanted to be in my own little world, doing my own little thing. And so that's what kind of kept me doing it. Like I'm sure everybody here, you try to get sober, it doesn't work. All the things that I did and all the things I enjoyed while I was sober, before I started using, once I started using, it was so hard to get back into doing stuff, you know, because I was so high. Once I was used to doing all these things, I enjoyed life again. I mean, I was high, but I enjoyed what I was doing. It was scary to get sober because every time I wasn't high, I had no motivation to do anything. You know, I just hated life, people, everything about it. That's really for me what it was. I couldn't deal with people.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, that's 9 years ago, so it's a nice change, but there's still things I'm trying to get used to. I mean, Frankie said it right. Each day that you wake up and you don't use, you're going to make it through the day. It'll be a good day in the end.
I would say for me, again, it's just your surroundings growing up. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of it, my dad's a cop, not a lot of fostering of care and protection. Just that was my household. And then you're scared to death to do the wrong things. And then your folks split up and you're not even living with them and you're 3,000 miles away in great weather, 3,000 kids in my high school. And then you're battling with trying to fit in. And what are people doing? These things. So, naturally it was somewhat of an escape. And then I would say a lot of it too comes down to self esteem and self worth. And there's a lot of pain that we go through that instead of like really talking it out, which in my family, or I don't know if people do it nowadays, communicate with each other. But once you get those tools and you can talk about things, it's really because therapy's frowned upon. You got to be a tough guy. You can't show your feelings. But that's through recovery and the program, speaking at meetings, getting it out of yourself. Just for me, I feel much, much better.
Frank, that was something else right there, because I always feel like even though it's 2025 and like the world's a weird place, I feel like you're not allowed to have feelings, and you're not allowed to, express yourself, and you just have to do what society wants you to do, and that's not the case, I feel. And it took me up until about a year and a half ago, I started to speak to a therapist. I know it's kind of not, we're supposed to do things ourselves, but something told me I needed it. And I still go once a week, once every 2 weeks sometimes, I talk.
It's
It's
great.
just like this.
Yeah.
It's just like this, and it has helped me greatly, and I've hated it my whole life, because when I was a little kid, they tried to put me in social workers, and they tried to force me to go to school psychiatrists and stuff. But to go back to the question, I think again, it was product of my environment. I grew up, my parents are alcoholics. They smoked pot. There was cocaine in the house when I was little. There was this scale on top of this shelf by the washer and dryer in this back room when I was real little. And I said, "What's that?" And they were like, "Oh, it's soap. It's soap." And like it didn't click until I was way older. And like I remember I was like, "Holy shit." I kind of had an altered view of life. I mean, my father, when I would hang out with him on the weekend, once I was 14, both of the times I got alcohol poison, I was drinking with him. It was just us. We were behind a building the one time, and then another time we were down at this park by the town beach, and he was pretty much homeless my whole life, and I would just go and like we would hang out and we would drink, and that was another thing too, because he was a giant Irish fucking Catholic man, right? And
Leave me out of this, kid.
I'm half, I'm half.
You're the best.
So we'd be drinking in like an abandoned house, or we'd be drinking in the trailer that he had an extension cord running to. And like he's telling me, "You gotta believe in God." And I'm like, "But dude, like, look at what he did to you." And he was always like, "No, God didn't do this, I did this." I just never, you know. I guess like, when you start to smoke pot, and like when you were a kid and cutting school, and I didn't fit in my high school. Our high school was a lot of jocks and Guidos and preppies, and then here I am with my Pantera t-shirt and my Doc Martens. There was maybe two of us in our grade. Like there was a couple that were older, and then there was like a couple that were younger, and then even like the hardcore kids, like they had like a lot of them, they had like money. It's just something that I just couldn't relate to. So, I mean, I guess I was always just, broken somehow.
You guys said it. You said it right. It's product of your environment. I thought, oh, if I quit hanging out with these people and move over here, I'm going to be fine. And to use your word, if you're already fucked up and broken, you're going to gravitate towards people that are like that. And so I kind of
Yeah.
just found other people that did the same shit, so it took a long time for it to finally work.
So a big theme here really is misery loves company because you all seem to seek out
Oh yeah.
people that supported your addictions. And it was a good
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
right? Like you all did the same
Oh
thing.
yeah. The guy that I used to buy all my heroin from, once I quit or decided I was going to quit, he didn't want to stop hanging out. And I hung out with him before I even started using. He would constantly call me and try and get me to go over, and he'd promise, "Oh, I won't bring this around. I won't do this. We'll just go do this. We'll do that." And it's like, dude, look who you're talking to. That's not going to work. I'm going to talk you into
Mm.
giving it to me. So I had to eventually cut him off and say, kick rocks. I can't have anything to do with you.
A lot of enablers in that kind of lifestyle then as
Oh yeah.
well. Yeah.
Because I mean,
Well, like that's
that's
great self-preservation for
yeah,
you, saying
yeah.
no.
It sucked, of course, to
Yeah.
not hang out with him, because he was a good guy, but if I had wanted any chance of getting clean, there was no way I could be around him. And he eventually got pissed off and told me to fuck off because I would talk to him on the phone. That is it. I would never go over there. I just couldn't, It's like, I don't want to keep doing this shit. If you want to, that's fine. That's your choice, but you're not going to rope me into doing it. I'm not going to be miserable with you anymore.
So at what point did you guys realize that you were addicts? So from what I'm hearing, like Jimmy, you said you had a hard time. Well, you lost a job because of it. And I know Frankie's always worked, and Mike, I'm not sure, but were you functioning addicts? Like,
Oh,
were you
100%.
were you kind of engaging in the satanic sin of self-deceit? If you know you have a problem but are denying it, that's what we would call that. So were you functioning addicts?
I functioned. I was always going to work either drunk or high. All the people that I worked with and hung out with, they saw me come in one day after I had worked there at this specific location for maybe a year. And one day I went in there completely sober and they thought I was high. They thought I had been drinking or using out back, and I was like, no, dude, I'm actually sober. I've been high this whole entire time. I went to work. Towards the end is where I got more fed up with people and the addiction really went off the rails even more. I was going on medical leave and then I just didn't care about work. So it didn't matter, but I still functioned day to day. I could drink all day, go to work all night, sleep a couple hours and drink and smoke heroin and go right back to work. And it didn't phase me.
Jimmy, you're nodding a lot. You used to have a similar story?
Well, I would sit and I would drink and drink, and obviously, we were talking about the dry goods, so I'd be awake. I used to go to work. I would jump on the train and I would go in. I was working in the city at the time when I started to realize things needed to stop, and I used to come out of blackouts on job sites. So like it was crazy, like crazy. I'd be at work and what was messed up is like you could have asked me like that morning, "Are you going to drink today?" And you could have gave me a lie detector test, and I would say, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to drink today." And I would have passed because I believed that I wasn't going to. And
Yep.
then by the time lunchtime would come, I'd run down, wherever I was and grab a couple. Before you knew it, now I'm making it back to the train station, and then you get a couple more there, and then all of a sudden I'm on the phone and hey, I'm gonna be at this station at this time, and then there's the guy, and now it's off to the races, and like I'm like, it'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm like ready to get on the next train to go back to work, and I'm like, yo, I said I wasn't gonna drink today. Like I don't even remember starting.
Yep.
Like crazy. Like it's just like you think of this stuff and like you can't even fathom it. Like when we've been removed for as long as we have now,
Oh yeah.
and it's like it's crazy. And
We
Mike, I can relate to with your friend. I went to a concert when I was 6 months clean with my half brother, and he's like, "You're no fun anymore since you can't drink. Let me just call him and just do like we'll just get a 40. You just do a little bit." Like hated the fact that I was
yeah, oh
trying
yeah.
to fucking hated it. And this is supposed to be my older, my older brother, my half brother. It was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. There's nothing like blacking out and waking up going, what the fuck happened? Why am I here?
Yes.
Before I started doing heroin, the guy that I hung out with, I would buy all my oxy from him. We had to go pick up his son. I remember this one day, and we went and got a bunch of pills. Then we went and picked up his son, and I said, you know what? I want to sit in the seat, in the passenger seat, and just get high. Just drive us home. I woke up on his couch. I had OD'd. They didn't even take me to a hospital. They didn't do anything. They had just fucking threw me on the couch and went and did whatever the hell they did. That's kind of when I knew, oh shit, there's a big problem here. Very odd to wake up and go, where the hell am I? We were just driving, 2 seconds ago. Why am I sitting here on your couch? Because, oh, you fucking OD'd and we just put you here. Well, you didn't fucking take me to a hospital. You didn't call anybody. No, why would we?
Wow.
All right. Well, thanks for that.
Frankie, you look like you have your own blackout experiences.
Oh, yeah. I was very much functioning, but I was a Thursday to Sunday drinker. One of my bosses one time said, all right, try to drink 25 drinks over the weekend. Like it was marathon Monday. Yeah, I'm functioning during, this binge drinking or whatever. It's just, blacking out 3 times, over a course of a few days in the December when I finally stopped. It's just that's when if it's not a wake-up call, someone needs to wake you up.
Yep.
The great thing about getting sober was, though, as well, is that there would be a Saturday where I would wake up and hit the bed. And I'm like, where are you? What did you do last night? It's when I became weeks into my sobriety, I was still doing that. Because before I had no idea. Like if I told someone to burn, if I tell you to burn in motherfucking hell, I actually mean it now. I don't ever say it to people now. But back then it was just anger, rage, etc., and it got worse as it went along. So yeah, I was able to function through it, but I'm glad it caught up to me.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you briefly touched on this. For just a general question to the panel, at what point did you decide I need to get clean now? Was there a light bulb moment for you? Jimmy, you said on a certain day you woke up and said, I was done. So what was for each one of you guys, what was the moment where you went, this is not right and I need to get cleaned up? I need to get some help.
I really don't know. Like I said, I knew that if I was sober, that day, I wasn't going to call anybody or talk to anybody. So I just wanted to quit for some reason. Like, this has gone on for too long. Honestly, there is no rhyme or reason for it because I still worked. I still took care of the family, the kids, did everything I was supposed to. I just got sick of it. And that's why the only way I knew that I would be able to get clean is if I ratted myself out. So I remember one day I just got home from work, sitting in my car, completely fucked up, and text my dad and said, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to a methadone clinic. And they knew I had taken pills because of my surgery, but they didn't think there was any problem. He just said, okay, if you need any help, let us know. And that's kind of what pushed me to do it. Other than that, I mean, nobody really ever pushed me to get clean. No one talked to me about it. I don't know why, they just didn't. So for me, it was just sick of doing it. I just got almost bored, like this has been going on for so many years. I just don't care anymore. So I better get clean now before something major happens.
So what process did you follow to get clean? Did you go to an AA or an NA, or did you have a lot of withdrawals? Like, what was the process for you?
Well, I'll back up a little bit because I was doing the pills and I was drinking, and I'd already had 2 hip surgeries by that time. The drinking was so bad that within a 3-month period, I ended up in the hospital 4 times because I was drinking all over my body, would get giant red splotches. And I had no idea what it was. I was just trying to quit, but because I drank so much and was trying to do it cold turkey, it was really messing with me. So I finally decided I was going to go into a detox unit. And I was only supposed to be there for 3 days, but I was so bad that I was there for like a week and a half. Going to any rehab, while it's helpful, there's also, in my opinion, a lot of bad that can come from it because I learned how to smoke this that way. I know how to take this drug that way. They tell you, addicts will tell you everything on how to do it. So I was really there just to quit drinking. Once I got out, I stayed away from alcohol for a little while, got back into it. For me, I just got so sick of it. It was to the point where I couldn't do it anymore.
No, it was a struggle. I mean, it sounded like it was a struggle, but to get to the point where you've had enough says a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're just like, you're not getting anything out of this anymore. And at least you were self-aware enough to go, well, I don't like this anymore. I got to do
Yeah.
something different, right?
Yeah. And on the AA meetings, you bring that up. When I was in detox, they made us go. And like I think Jimmy said, when they say, oh, you need to turn yourself over to a higher power, you need to do this. Well, I don't believe in God. I think all of that's a bunch of horseshit. At the time, I didn't like speaking in a group. I didn't like having to talk to people about what was going on, because I was trying to focus on myself. I didn't give a shit about anybody else. So I didn't go to them. When I got out of detox, in order for me to leave, I had to set up a meeting with either an in-house or outpatient rehab. And I went into the company was called Turning Point. I remember that. I went into the first meeting and they sat us in a room with like 30 people in a circle. And from what I knew about rehab or AA is if you had something to share, you shared your story. If you don't want to share, you just sit there and you listen and you take it in. Well, whoever was running the meetings would not leave me alone because I was the new guy. They kept badgering me and trying to get me to answer all these questions. And it's like, you realize I've only been sober for 7 days, 8 days. I don't want to talk about my whole entire life with you. And so I just kind of walked out. And after that, that's when I kind of got really bad because I was so pissed off at how they tried to force it on me. And then that kind of led up to where I really abused everything and enough was enough. Decided to go to a methadone clinic. And honestly, if I wouldn't have, I wouldn't be here today. I mean, they run I don't know if anybody else has been to one, but just like most rehabs and stuff, they ask you what you take, how much, how often, everything about it. And then they do a drug screen on you. And when they looked at mine, they said, quite frankly, you're fucking lucky to be here. You wouldn't have lasted much longer. That kind of opened my eyes going, oh shit.
Yeah, I pulled a Jimmy where I said, "This is brilliant. I'm only going to drink wine. That's all I'm going to do is drink wine. This whiskey and this vodka." And I just drank the wine for a little bit, and I said, "This is so boring." And then back full speed into the other stuff. But it goes back to what Mike said as well. I was just really sick and tired of being sick and tired, literally sick,
Yep.
exhausted. I was doing Wallum Kung Fu 3 days a week because it was invented in China by a woman. I'm not the biggest dude, but I also have 3 sisters to fight over the flat iron. So you learn these techniques. But even with that, trying to exercise, all that alcohol, it just affects you. And it finally just came down to all of these blackouts in a row. Let me switch my medicine up. That didn't work either. And I just remember my last drinks with some Mexican politicians that I know. And I said, this is fucking it. 3 days before New Year's, I went to a meeting. New Year's Day came. I'm with my family. My buddies are bringing up bottles of champagne. And I'm like, no, I'm not drinking any. And then you get that sort of like, what's wrong with you? No, it's what's wrong with you because you also have a problem. You just want me to be a part of it.
Yep.
And it's about finally caring about ourselves to say, look, I'm done. And as the process goes on, you clear your head, get some counseling, and you're going to run into those people, unfortunately, like with Mike or whatever. And it's like, it's a texting thing that I say, FTTY. Fuck them. That's why. Like, mind your own business. And if you really want to be a help, be a help. And it's like Jimmy getting his KDAC. I admire that. Learn about it. You can help people professionally.
Yeah.
Mike, when the time comes up, you help people. But we can't, people got to want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm just glad that I got that gift to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool that, Jimmy, what you're going to school for, at the clinic, we had to go through, we have to do counseling and stuff for that. I remember seeing so many different counselors there that we would all try to talk to about this stuff. And all they did is go to school for it. They had no clue what it was like to go through this. I still talk to these people and I'm just blown away. Like, how can you sit here and counsel me on why I shouldn't use, or it's going to do this, or whatever your spiel is, if you have no clue what's going on? Just because you read a book and it says addicts do this, and this is what heroin does to you, and this is what alcoholics generally act like, that doesn't mean you know. So they finally started getting in people that were former addicts themselves. And those are the ones that have been the most beneficial. So I personally think people are going to be a counselor, a drug counselor, they should have some experience with it. They're able to help more, I think.
Damn right. They need more of us, and that's another reason why. Really,
Yeah. And
they need more of us.
And I think that's really awesome you're doing it because, I used
Thank
to
you.
do my counseling I would do it every week. It was mandatory. I go once a month, but they changed it so I can, you can go as many times as you want. So I started doing it 2 or 3 times a week because I was benefiting from it. Even though I'd been sober for 8 years, 9 years, to this point, I would still go through it because I enjoyed it. And the counselors they have now, it's like these people have no idea what they're doing. And to me, you're just here for a paycheck. You're not here because you give two shits about what we go through. Anyway, that was my little
No.
side spiel on that. I get really frustrated because I'm very open about it. So when they start talking to us, I'll be the first to say, "Oh, have you experienced this? Do you know what this is like?" Well, no. And then I'll just, all right, that's it.
Yep.
I really don't give two shits what
Yep.
you have to say now. I mean, all the stuff you're telling me is stuff you can read anywhere. I want somebody that's gone through it, that knows the struggle.
That's a good lead into a question that we have later about red flags. I'm looking forward to touching on that one again. Jimmy, I just want to wrap this one up with you. So you woke up that morning and you said, that's it. So what precipitated that decision and what did you do to clean yourself up?
So I was going to meetings for a while, but when I was going, and they would say, if you've been drinking within the first 24 hours, don't share. And I would always just sit in the back because I used to go to these meetings and I would be drunk. And for some reason, I kept going to meetings. I went to rehab, but I didn't get right until 2009. In '08, the one night my phone rang, I was in somebody's house that I didn't know. I was in their apartment. I had met them at the bar and I needed a place to shower. So they were like, you can shower at my place, because, bar flies, we, how it was. So I never had minutes on my phone, even though I was making all good money. Because I had no way to live, no way. And I had minutes on my phone. So I'm like, yo, and he's like, you want to go to a meeting? I said, dude, I have to get help. And he was like, all right. I was like, no, if I don't get help tonight, I'm jumping in front of the train. He picked me up. We were calling people. Nobody had a bed. Nobody had a bed until finally we found a place. I wasn't allowed to go until I forget what time it was. So we had time to kill. So we went to the cemetery to see his little brother, who was my best friend, who passed from the disease. And then we went to a meeting. And then I went. It's like kind of like a crisis center or whatever. And they keep you there for a couple days until they can get you a bed in a rehab. And I went into the rehab, and that was the first time. And then I fell off. And then the second time, I'm sitting in my apartment, no electricity. I got these dollar store candles. I got a thing of water because I got a bucket from the dollar store that I would let the water come down to room temperature so I could, shower in the bathtub just with basically like a sponge bath, more or less. And I'm wasted. And what's that? It's a big book. And I was only going to meetings at that time after I went back because I wanted to charge my phone because I had no electricity, and I would have to wait until after 9 to use it most of the time because that long ago it was, And then finally I was just like, I can't keep doing this. I can't do this again. I did do it once before. I'm going to try. I think I could do it again. Life is really hard. Life is really hard. And when we start putting all that other shit in the way of it, it just makes it that much worse.
Yep.
I mean, I'm struggling right now in a million different ways, but you know what? And you know what's wild? I've been removed for 16 years. I still have dreams about it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
you know?
Yep.
What I find really interesting is your story has a common thread is that you all did it for yourselves. You didn't do it for somebody else. So is this the kind of thing, and Frankie, I could see you shaking your head, is this the kind of thing that you can do for somebody? Or is this the kind of thing you have to do for yourself?
Rock bottom, baby. Rock bottom.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Yeah. It's, I think for yourself, I kind of battled with that question a bit because I've heard it from so many people over the years. Like, did you do it for yourself or did you do it for your family? And I could never really answer it what I felt completely because in my mind, if I gave two shits about myself, I wouldn't have even been doing this stuff in the first place.
Mhm.
So part of me wants to say I did it for the family, but then I also know I did it for myself as well. You said it right, rock bottom. And I think Jimmy said it earlier that everybody has to hit. It was either Jimmy or Frank, I can't remember, but everybody has to hit their rock bottom. And I mean, an example, my grandma calls me all the time because my dad's sister, ended up becoming an addict. And my grandma knows I went through all this shit. So, how can you help her? What can you do for her? It's like there's nothing I can do for it. If she wants to talk about it, I'll happily talk about it. I'll talk about my experiences, what I did to get help. I'll help her in any way I can, but I can't force her to get sober. Neither can you. You can put her in jail. If she doesn't want to get sober, when she gets out, she's going to use again. If you put her in rehab, once she gets out, if she doesn't really want to get sober, she's going to do it again. So the only thing you can do is just sit there and support her, let her know she's loved and that you're there for her.
So like I did do it for myself in the beginning, but then after a while, because prone to relapse, I started to question some things, really early on. But then, my wife, we were just dating at the time, and she had this little girl, and I met her on her 6th birthday. I was just mommy's friend at the time. She was real careful about things. I said, I gotta stay. I gotta stay. This is, I have to keep doing it for them. Not for them, but because I wanted to keep them in my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Fast forward through decades. Within that time, I wound up adopting her, and she's my daughter.
Yep.
Like, she's mine. Things happened to her that she didn't ask for. Her biological father kind of just walked away from her. And I was there the whole time. Since the first day we met on her 6th birthday, we just like magnets. Then a couple years later, we had my second daughter. Now, of course, decade and a half later, I don't want that life. Like, I just don't want that life. I know that I would never have had my wife because she don't tolerate this shit. She didn't have any of the problems that we had. She really doesn't tolerate anything. I couldn't have my kids go through what I went through because look, we were talking about counseling, we were talking about helping the adults, right? But the family, the kid, there's that kid, the kid needs the help. I didn't start to see things until like my kids started hitting a certain age, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, yo, I like totally raped myself of a childhood. And they're both honor students. They're awesome. They take after their mother.
Oh, I think they take after their dad a little bit too. Their dad seems to be a pretty strong guy.
That's fantastic.
One thing I always find interesting is talking to people is finding out their significant other and how they dealt with it. I got pretty fucking lucky because my wife should have left me long ago. There was points where she did enable it and she knows she did, but she stuck by the whole time. And, I couldn't be more thankful. As far as kids go, I think you're 100% right. They need the help just as much. The one thing, like me growing up, I did the whole DARE program they did when you're in elementary school, and I did all that bullshit. My parents didn't really talk about it though. I think when I was little, they just went drugs and alcohol, bad, stay away. And that was it. But with my kids now that they're old or getting older, for probably the last 7 years, I've been completely honest about everything. This is what I did when you were little. This is why I did it. If you ever think about going down this road, look at the shit I went through. Being honest with them. A lot of parents, I feel, try to shelter their kids away from stuff. And I've just been completely open about it. Like, you have any questions, ask me. I'll tell you straight up. I don't know. I personally think that's a good thing to do with the kids, but everybody's different.
So this is a bit of a heavy topic in a feeble attempt to lighten it up, whether this is a good question or not. I know all of you guys through this thing of ours, and I'm grateful that you're here. I think you're 3 great guys. 100%. I've spoken to all of you, and we get along fine. We're good to talk on the phone anytime. Question though, hearing all of this, would I have liked you when you were using? No.
Yeah.
I would have liked Mike because he was happy-go-lucky, but Jimmy, why wouldn't I have liked you?
I was it's for some reason alcohol turns me into a sloppy, disgusting, mean. I had told you I moved in with somebody when we were very young. It's very abusive. I was the person that I hate today. Like, when you're reading a story or something like that, you're like, yo, just kill that motherfucker, like I was that. I was just an obnoxious, disgusting individual.
I was happy-go-lucky. Like, very rarely did I get angry or mad. Yeah, I mean, towards the end, the few times that I did black out towards the end, because I never really blacked out drunk in the beginning, even though I would drink a shit ton. Towards the end, I started getting more obnoxious, but for the most part, I was just happy-go-lucky, not a care in the world.
Relaxed your inhibitions a little
Yeah,
bit. I guess it's true what they say, kids drunks in yoga pants never lie, huh?
yeah,
Unfortunately.
sure. I've never.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I had
That
to
was
throw
good.
it in there.
That was
that's
good.
allowed.
Yeah, well, Frank,
It just depends what time of the night,
I
or
suppose.
no, like as far as I'm still a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun getting wasted. But again, it's at what level, what time of night, whether you would have liked me or not. Early
Yeah.
on, yes.
Saw some pictures of you back in the day, and with your shorter haircut, and
Oh
you
God.
were so cherubic back then. You were so innocent.
Yes. My hair turns water into wine. Now I just can't drink it. So, but
Lucky.
it keep me around for the party.
Since we moved past the dark part of the show, I guess now it's like the sun's out, so I can ask you guys. And Mike, you touched on this before, is how's life now that you're recovered? So the question, the reason that I asked the question is I'm hyper self-aware, but that's just me by nature. So are you guys now hyper self-aware of the triggers that make you might want to start using again? And are you always fighting that? Will you always fight that?
I am very hyper aware now. You said earlier I'm a photographer, do a lot of landscape photography. So the guy I used to buy all my heroin from, the way to his house is the same way I would have to go to get to the mountains to do all my work. And when I first got sober, I would try to drive up there thinking, okay, great, I feel good. Let's go take some photos, let's go hiking, camping. And I would get almost to where the street turnoff to his house was, and I would just start freaking out, major panic attacks that I would just have to turn around and go home. For a long time, I couldn't really leave my house unless it was something I had to do, because there was so many things that triggered me, whether it was me going to his house or us going to a specific spot to score or whatever. Now, I mean, there's still things that do trigger me. If I get angry at something, or you get sad or depressed or anxious, any emotion can trigger you. I'll get mad and I'm like, fuck, I just want to go get high because I don't have to deal with this shit. Because that's what I always did in the past. But I've learned how to navigate that and talk myself out of relapsing. I mean, yes, I'm still hyper aware. Life is, I mean, as good as it can get. Things can always get better, but I'm happy now.
Overall, like I said, life is really hard, especially now, we're all kind of in the same boat, you know what I mean? Like, and just the world is wild right now. So, of course, there's going to be like things that would have been a trigger that are not now. I can go to a concert by myself. We had tickets to a couple shows, and like my wife's like, I'm not going. Go. Seriously, right? I'm like, come on. She's like, go, 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 go. And like, I can go to a concert by myself, and I don't even think about drinking. I can like do things now. I know that if there's a reason to be there, then there's a reason to be there. But I know that I wouldn't have the things that I have in my life right now. Of course, I want more. All right, especially being over here, it's not cheap, and a lot of us are struggle financially. That'll happen. It'll happen. It's an up and down. But as far as everything else, like, and I hate to sound cheesy, but all the stuff that I have, money can't buy. Like, I really can't. I couldn't imagine life without the things that I've acquired. I have one friend in this state. Everyone else is in the other states. I don't mind that. Got my wife who, sometimes she wants me around. you know,
Yep.
Spoken like a
and
true married man, I'll tell you.
Yep.
you know, same thing with my girls. Sometimes they want me around. My cats. I saw Frankie had a
Yeah,
celebrity on
cookie
his
dough.
lap right there.
Yep.
I got my cats and my turtle, and just you can't explain it. You can't explain like that atmosphere. Like, you know, you wouldn't have that atmosphere.
And Frank, how about you
Yes.
as recovered? Now, what's interesting with you, Frankie, is you actually drink non-alcoholic beverages. How close does that come to the line for you? Because I remember seeing something you had posted about a non-alcoholic Guinness. And I thought, where's that line for you to say, well, you know what? One or whatever it is. Like, how do you
A good
stay,
question.
yeah, how do you stay constant with the temptation always in your face, especially if you're entertaining it?
Well, I just, again, there's no alcohol in it. So it's pretty much the flavor of mud without the, it's kind of like even the zero Heinekens, which I used to drink when I was 12. It's actually, so then I got the Heineken Zero. There's no alcohol in it. So I drink it. And I'm like, this tastes like skunk piss. Why did I ever drink it in the first place? Oh, because there was alcohol. It did something to you. But with that, that's just for me. It's just, there's no alcohol in it. So I don't have a problem with that. But there are times where it'll be 80 degrees. You drive by a liquor store, you see people coming out. But with all of this, it's the one saying of think through the drink. You
Yep.
look at the lights in a bar. Oh, they're low. Look at all this stuff. This whiskey, it whispers until you're laying face down. You shit your pants. You have no money. I mean, that's what happens. So you think through where that drink's going to bring whatever temptation comes. We all have been there. I just don't want to go back. So with that, I still go out, I perform, I'm around it, but there are remember whens when I see people who can't walk. And I'm like, that was me. It's disgusting. I just don't want to be that person.
There are times where I really think that I need to make this show video, and never would I make light of this, but I have to share with you that when Frankie said face down on the street and you shit your pants, the other two guys are nodding like we've all been there, buddy.
Yeah,
I had too much
know
to
all
drink
about it.
and now my socks know things they shouldn't. Yeah.
It smell interestingly funky when they did before.
I, I think that's a great question because when I was in detox, I asked about non-alcoholic beer, like, hey, is this fine, as long as I'm not drinking something with alcohol? Because it had only been literally like 2 days since I had drank. They said, I wouldn't even entertain that idea because you're going to start drinking it. All those memories are going to come up and you're not going to be getting drunk and you're going to just say, fuck it. And then you're going to start drinking again. I have never once tasted a non-alcoholic beer. I don't know what it tastes like. I mean, I just kind of stayed away from it.
If you miss skunk piss, there's a nice Heineken Zero for you. You're not missing anything.
I don't want to know why you're making that comparison. None of us do.
Well, it smells like it. I don't know.
Oh,
it's
it
just
smelled
disgusting.
it is. Heineken was always fucking rancid skunk. It was disgusting.
I got nothing to compare it to. I got Canadian beer up here, fellas. Sorry, I can't compare it to skunk piss, really.
You got the good beer, huh?
The good beer, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best subject to bring up on a show about addiction, but I'm just trying to fit in.
Yeah, come on, I just want to be cool.
Yeah, I just want to be cool like you guys. So what signs would you say somebody needs to watch out for when their indulgence starts to become a compulsion?
Oh,
so are there red flags? Like, is there something obvious where it's like, oh shit, it's time to do something about this?
That's a tough question, honestly. I mean, I don't know how to answer that one. I was reading it and I couldn't answer that right away. So
see, for me, it was the reality of somebody saying to me, "What are you doing?" And I didn't even realize what I was doing. Now, I was nowhere near the level you guys were. I mean, I'm listening to your stories and I'm going, I've never even seen any of the things you're talking about. So I'm grateful that I had a sheltered life here. But, it was somebody pointing it out and saying, what are you doing, man? Like, it's Thursday morning. Why are you making yourself a drink?
I was never asked anything like that just because the people I bought it from were the people that were friends that I hung out with. So a dealer is not going to tell you what the fuck are you generally. I mean, there have been, cases, but generally they just want the money, so they don't give a shit.
Yeah, I have a lot of dear friends that were active, wild alcoholics, like to the point of they're getting banned from places. Oh, Johnny can't go in here. This person can't go. But yet and still you talk to them about it, or even their dear best friends would try to talk to them. They're still going to do it until they do it for themselves or do it for their family or for whatever reason. And this same friend of mine, he ended up having a stroke. So this stuff is not good for you. It's a poison.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you that, because I went to my doctor one day. I am filled with anxiety. Well, what are you doing there, Frankie? Well, I drank. Well, that causes anxiety. I go, what are you talking about? What about the wild Pirate Morgan's chicks? I mean, look at them. Look at the Corona commercials. Look at all the fun these people are having on TV. And he said, it's marketing. It's lies. And you're like, what? Oh, so they're not here, whether it's the dealers, the big corporations, the fights that they have with the tobacco. There are these major lobbies that these blues and reds that we think we vote for that can change anything are paying them.
So what about something like an intervention? Do you think that would have been effective for you, or do you think that's just like screaming into a windstorm?
No, I think that
it wouldn't have
happened to me easily. But go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, it
No.
wouldn't have worked for me. Again, I mean, there are, I'm sure, people that it does work for, but it still kind of goes back to the same saying, unless you hit your own rock bottom, it's not going to fucking matter. I know I already used the example of my aunt, but that was the thing my grandma said, well, what if we do an intervention? 90% of the time, if anybody's even seen the show, most of those people just walk out telling everybody to fuck off.
Yes.
It wouldn't have worked for me. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I probably needed an intervention for sure. But where we end up, and that's, where a lot of these sayings from the halls have helped me. It's like jails, institution. What are the choices you want to make?
Well, what I like about asking you guys this is there are no obvious common red flags. And I think it speaks, Mike, to you saying you can write down in a book what a typical alcoholic does, what a typical heroin addict does, but it's really coming across as a very individual experience. Although it's shared, it's very individual. So none of you would be in a position to say, are there any red flags that I should be looking out for?
Yeah.
So if I shift gears a little bit, oh no, go ahead.
No, I just think that, I think there would be some obvious red flags of people continuing to use. I mean, if you're looking from an outside perspective, if I see someone doing this behavior over and over, that's a red flag for me. They may enjoy it. There's going to be no stopping them. If it's someone you care about, you just try to plant some seeds, but that's as far as it's going to go, including they have Al-Anon meetings or whatever the NA equivalent is, that you're living with these people in addiction. And it really does affect the non-drinker too, especially whether it's a relationship, a family, because we legitimately, if we do, love and care for these certain family members. And it's heartbreaking. But again, it's going back to your aunt, you love her, but people can be put in jail. They'll come out and use. They'll go to these things. So, there are red flags. It's just like, then what?
So the three of you guys have been very candid with your stories. You've shared them. Said how you've all hit rock bottom and what have you. Now, let's say someone's listening to this podcast and says, wow, I might have a problem here. Or look, these guys were able to get through it, whatever way they got through it. What would you say to that person who thinks that they might have an addiction right now?
If you think that you might have one, you have one.
Yeah, you have one.
It's just at different levels,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
get the help. Get the help immediately.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be inpatient. You could be intensive outpatient. Go to a meeting. Just start your journey.
Yeah. Just talking to even talking to a friend or a family member. I mean, that has been, I think, besides going to the clinic, that was the biggest thing for me, is having a friend that he knew I used and would just say, dude, you're going to do what you're going to do. I wouldn't do it. Now I can call him, and I mean, I still known the dude for over 30 years, still see him every week. And no matter what I'm going through, I know I have somebody to bitch to, and just get everything off my chest. And I think that's a big help for anybody going through it.
The dynamic shift here is unbelievable, because I ask you guys to share your stories and you all pause and you all wait and you measure what you're going to say. And I say, what do you say to somebody who thinks they might have an addiction and you're fighting for airspace? Like, you're so passionate about this. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And I so appreciate
and
it.
you can find meetings online. It's just that easy in your area. Like my sponsor would say, let's just drop into Oklahoma. Let's find a meeting. They're there. And that's why I think it's good to take what you need and leave the rest. There's also a saying, principles before personalities. You're going to meet some people where, look, I don't think my backhand is big enough to get this person away from me. Some people you're just not going to mix with. But that's why the principles of trying to get sober, do the next right thing. I can't control people, places, or things, but I can control myself.
Yep.
And enjoy life sober. Because there was a time I walked into a bar and the bar manager had been sober for 15 years. And I said to him, I have so much time now, I don't know what to do with my life. And he said, pretty soon, Frankie, you're going to fill it with great things. So now I get to ruin people's lives through punk music, because all I care about is how I dress up. Have good musicians, but have a good time without that stuff. It's wonderful.
You said it right. I mean, when you get sober, you have so much free time. Isolation and free time, not doing anything, all that shit. If you have nothing to do and you're just sitting around, that can just go right back into it. So it was really hard for me to find shit to do, because I am on disability, so can't go work, nothing I can do. So it's like, I got to figure out what I can do to occupy this time, or I'm just going to go right back to it.
I don't want to admit this to anybody, but I would wake up early and go to Target at 8 a.m. I had so much time. My weekends were so long. I'm actually at Target walking around. But that was a step to do something. Once you get the fog out of your way, it's just really, really nice. Yeah, and you have the support.
It's okay, man. We're not going to tell anybody. I think these guys are good for it. So we'll hold that close to the vest. Deal.
Yeah. There
was going out on the airwaves.
I had one friend that I grew up with that when I started going to the methadone clinic, I struggled really bad, because he was the type that said, okay, well, you're going here to get off heroin, but you're doing this, so you're not sober. It's like the way his brain worked, he wasn't asking questions about it. He was more or less just being a dick, trying to say, because he's the type of person that would always try to be better than everybody in everything he did. It was hard to fill up the time, getting rid of everybody, not having shit to do, trying to work on staying sober, being at this clinic, dealing with all the bullshit there, dealing with the shit people thought of, so replacing it with all these good things, finding all these good things to do. It just, I mean, Frank, you said it right. It makes everything so much better.
Carry that a little further then. What would you say to somebody in the midst of their recovery? All of you have basically said, oh, well, I tried more than once. Is there any kind of encouragement you can give to somebody who's in the middle of their recovery, might be having some struggles? What kind of support could they seek on their own, and what kind of support could you offer them, especially with Jimmy going for his case act? Like, what kind of support is out there for someone in the middle of this right now?
If you're in the middle of it and you're starting to question it, or you're starting to feel like, it's completely natural, because we spend so much time on the other end of the table, right?
Yep.
You don't want to go backwards. Most of us we didn't want to. There's just something inside, like, just, you can't give up. You can't stop. You have, like, you're here. And I try to tell people, We woke up this morning. We already won half the battle.
Yep.
That's it. You know, like Frankie said, call somebody. There's meetings. Find a meeting. I don't really go to too many meetings nowadays, but I 100% will always say that AA got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of these guys and they hide in the rooms. And like I didn't get sober and I didn't get clean because I wanted to spend my life hiding in the room. I wanted to learn how to live life.
Yeah.
Still not really 100% sure how to live
Yep.
life. But
I
you know,
that's
just
you're
go. And like, you know, like us, we don't think like the rest of them. So just when they start dropping the three-letter word, just tune it out. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because you know what? There's
That was the hard thing for
still
me.
so much more. Of course. Just read We the
Yeah.
Agnostics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys said it right. If somebody's in the middle of recovery, and feel like you're slipping backwards, you've got to talk to somebody. And that's what I think that was really the hardest thing for me. Because when this one friend who I don't even talk to anymore now because of it, but when he started talking shit about me going to a methadone clinic and all this, it really made me question everything that I was doing at the time. Like, okay, is this working for one, even though I've been sober, for X amount of years, or am I really just replacing it, or is my life a lie? All this bullshit. And so questioning it, I almost said, fuck it, that I didn't even want to continue going through all the treatment and the recovery. And so that's what led me to doing more counseling, which I hated counseling growing up. My parents always made me see a therapist. So I always vowed never to talk to another therapist because of the experience I had until I started going to this clinic. And then that kind of it helped me. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. So I started using counseling, talking to anybody I could, family, if I was struggling with whatever it was. It's a huge help. You got to find somebody that you can trust.
A lot of those people we found out were not actually our friends.
Oh
And
no.
a lot of people you start to see, they didn't want to see us rise because they didn't want anybody looking at them. So it was
Yep.
so easy for them to point the finger at us.
Oh yeah. Yep.
We were like a scapegoat.
Yeah, I think encouragement is great at any point in time, just in general. I mean, I look at people like they have an invisible backpack. I don't know what you're going through. I'm not going to make things worse for you unless you fuck with me.
Yeah.
And then you're getting a destruction ritual in the Bustelo. But with that, really, it's just that's why they have the sponsors and sponsees. You have somebody to talk to. Then your friends group, because that is your friend group is going to change. Just like Mike, I cannot hang with this person anymore.
Yep.
And my friend OD'd, and I was a pallbearer for him. And I couldn't talk to him the last few months of his life because of the addiction. And these things happen. So it's just important. Look, be your own best friend. And I think that's the key. And the toughest thing, especially in environments we're brought up in, be your own best friend. Read books or do the hobbies that you like to do, whether it's the photography. And know that above paying your bills, you're going to be no happier. It's the illusion of like, oh, I'll buy this and buy that. No, if your basic needs are met, happiness is a choice. We have shitty things come up. I know any of these substances is going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And feelings are okay to feel. And it's good to read books by Dr. Robert Greene. That's great. Even though young Robert Shirley's not a big fan of the Stoicism, I highly recommend it. And then go read Hell Has Windows or else, so just, I think it's the positivity of having a good group. And
Yep.
I feel like I have that in my life and for myself.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to change my whole entire friend group. Because I was hanging out with these people before I was doing anything. They were doing their shit, but I just kind of lived my own life. And once I started doing it with them, I would always get oh, well, let's just do it, on the weekends or every once in a while, when we want to have a good time. And it's like, And do you not realize that that never works? You may start off doing it every Saturday, but it's going to quickly go into every Saturday and Sunday, and then it's going to be all week. And then that's what your whole life is. So I had
Yeah.
to, unfortunately, and it still sucks. And I'm glad I did it, but I can't say that I'm proud, to basically tell all your friends to go fuck themselves. You want nothing to do with them anymore. If they get clean, then you can rebuild that relationship. Now I just surround myself with people like you guys.
Some amazing stories of what you went through and recovery. Thank you guys so much for sharing those. It means a lot to me personally that you were willing to come and do this. Especially that it gives you a platform to get your voices out there, and I'm feeling very grateful for that.
When you sent out the message, I saw I think it was on Facebook. I quickly sent you a text right away and said, dude, I will be more than happy to be on there, because I mean, one of you guys said it, you never know what somebody else is going through. So, sharing your story may help somebody.
Yeah. And I'm completely grateful that the three of you guys stepped up. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where can we find you guys now? And especially Jimmy, really interested to know what you're up to these days. You're an unknown commodity to us. So where can we find you online? Are you doing anything interesting that we might want to check out?
I'm actually very boring right now. Right now my life is just basically it's just work, school, and then laundry, Costco, Walmart.
So you're on a reality show.
Yeah.
You're on a reality show. This is awesome.
Jimmy will be the first guest we don't have back for any reason, I guess.
No, just wait. Wait till he gets his degrees.
I know that he'll run his own thing for sure.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You guys are awesome. Frankie, I've actually spoken to you on Facebook. My wife and I were in Salem, and I was going to go see you in that guitar store you were playing a show, but it didn't pan out.
No worries at all. Yeah, good stuff.
Same. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, the Midnight Signal podcast, like you said, Robert, Skogan Outdoors podcast with another close friend. So they're all on Facebook. And actually Instagram as well. You guys all have my number. People can reach me anyway, pretty much.
You guys can catch me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm a really shy person. King Frankie Hollywood on Instagram.
Very modest,
Frankie
too.
Melted Chapsticks off.
Very shy person.
We got my show Melted. I appreciate all the support especially with this stuff. So this really, Robert, has been one of the best meetings I've ever been to. So thank you, Mike and Jimmy. So this was great.
It was a lot of fun. Frankie, you said it earlier, we all have emotions, we all have feelings, and most meetings I can sit by and just talk about shit. I don't care, I'll happily tell my story, but sitting here with people that, we share a lot in common, it was hard, but very enjoyable and glad to be a part of it.
No, thank you again ever so much. I always like to have repeat guests on my show, so that I'll invite all of you back at one point or another.
Yep.
And until the next time we get to talk, hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the NutriWisdom Podcast. I'd like to thank all of you for listening, and a huge thank you to our panel for being here today. Please drop a like or a comment down below. For questions or comments, you can email me directly at information@nutriwisdom.ca. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. A like and subscribe go a long way in pushing this podcast out. Check me out on Facebook under Robert Shirley, and check out Instagram at neutral_wisdom. And be sure to visit the website at nutriwisdom.ca. And don't forget to check out my books, Neutral Wisdom, Hell Has Windows, and Unapologetic, published by Dark Moon Press and available now at Amazon.com in print and Kindle formats. Until next time, ever forward.
You have been listening to the Neutral Wisdom Podcast. For more information, email us at information@neutralwisdom.ca, Facebook under Robert Shirley, or Instagram at neutral_wisdom. Also, check out our website at neutralwisdom.ca. Program copyrighted 2026, Devilish Gentleman Enterprises.